Don't even try and get that good vibe going right now, Michael. This is not the time.
This is not the time?
This is not a good vibe day, man. We are not in this kind of mindset no more.
We have to just pretend, ignorance was bliss, wasn't it, Andy?
No, this episode should have started with the intro music to fucking like a Ridley Scott movie.
Yeah.
Just Chris Nolan's Interstellar score starting
soundtrack
this.
of Signs.
Yeah, exactly. This is not the normal shenanigan day. This is not one of those good normal haha days. This is a fucking mind bender.
You guys will know what we're talking about. Well, first off, welcome to Headlines and Shenanigans, episode 10. If you guys don't know, we are on summer break here at True Crime Guys, and we will be back with regular episodes September 6th. But today, we have to talk about the UFOs, Andy.
I don't even know. Will we be back, Michael? After this, will we be back after this?
Who knows? We might be taken out by a tic-tac-shaped UFO.
The whole fucking lid might have just been blown off. No one's going to care about true crime anymore.
Basically, listen, we have aliens, and the government can't do anything about it, is basically what they're saying, and they're using your money to check them out.
Yeah, that might be
Is that it in a nutshell?
That's a little bit of a nutshell, and there's just a little bit more of a... There seemed to be a little bit more of an evidence trail now of people who were not exactly telling the truth for many a decade.
Well, of course. What other choice did they have, really?
I don't know. Just, rock the world.
Just freaking rock the world like these gentlemen are doing right now? These whistleblowers?
I don't know. Some people just like to watch the world burn, man.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's the right time. Come on. Are you really surprised at this point? Like, even if you did not believe in aliens... are you really surprised? I mean,
I am definitely not surprised. I have never been one to question the existence of aliens. That was that was like a real struggle back when I was growing up as a teenager in like the South and being in a church and environment and being someone who was just like, wait, you guys don't
have God
believe
and
in
aliens?
You guys don't believe in aliens? Like,
yeah.
How? We got telescopes and shit. You can like look out there.
Look out there, man. Look how much space is out there.
Yeah, man. Like, you think that's just it?
It's just us, right?
So that was always a big problem for me, even when I was questioning my own faith back in the day. But now it's just, I've never had to rationalize the idea of like, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that we're alone.
Right.
And now just having a credible security intelligence officer, like a general, like, got a fucking resume to back it.
Yeah.
And this guy's going out in public and actually blowing the whistle, like actually going to the congressional whistleblowing committees and saying, this needs to be made public. We can't sit on this anymore. We can't have this massive disinformation campaign to say that aliens aren't real. Right. Or that we don't have any kind of contact. And
some people may ask, well, why now? Well, because now we're at a point where our science is advanced enough to reverse engineer the things that we find, and then we can use those as, I don't know, how do governments usually use weapons? Fucking weapons, Andy.
That's one of the biggest things. That's always been the end goal for some of the people in power, and that may be one of the reasons they've never come to fruition with any kind of transparency.
Right.
Because if the people in power are trying to catch and crash and reverse engineer these things for weapons, then that's not something we want our enemies to know. We don't want to make that public information.
Exactly.
But these men right here, the guys who went forth yesterday and testified against in front of Congress, we're recording this on July 27th, so this is the day after the big David Grush whistleblower committee hearing.
Right.
So
we're giving you the highlights.
Yeah, that we were ready to record a normal show today, and then we all just kind of fucking wiped our minds yesterday a little bit and being like...
Me and Andy were talking about this before the show. I'm like, okay, listen, we just turn the mics on. We're going to have like a 3-hour podcast here.
Fuck these cases. Fuck that Rex Hewerman guy. We'll deal with him later.
Yeah, really.
We apparently have bigger fish to fry.
Quite literally.
I mean, they're
fish
smaller.
that we're not ready for.
I mean, they're smaller. But
right. But
physically.
At least we think. You heard about the UFO that landed in Vegas in those people's backyard, and they said those people that the figures that got out of it were 8 to 9 foot tall, man.
That is, we've never really gotten to go.
This just happened recently, by the way.
We talked about it on Headlines and Shenanigans, I believe, where the cops had dash cam footage of like something falling out, coming out of the sky, and it seemed very sketchy. And like even one of the reports was saying, my partner called and said he saw something come out of the sky.
Yeah. So
if you guys see something, don't call us.
Right.
But so this guy's saying a lot of the information that comes around of some of these crafts. Me and you have never really, dove into the UFO hole before. But when you get into it, there's a bunch of different, there's a bunch of different species. There's different races of aliens that have made contact and come to Earth, like the Greys, the Nordic Blondes. I think there's one I can't remember what they're called. They look like a praying mantis, apparently.
You said the Nordic Blondes?
The Nordic Blondes.
I think they made an appearance during like the Skinwalker Ranch stuff. Mm-hmm. They became pretty famous. It was like a male and a female figure, but they like had very fair skin and bright blonde hair. So
the Nordic Blondes, when you get into the UFO like ideas and the UFO society, the Nordic Blondes are a race that can almost look identical to us. They can somewhat blend in with some societies, which is
Nicole Kidman's one, actually. I think.
I think so. I think all the Hemsworths.
Oh, okay.
I think all three of the Hemsworths. No question.
Right.
But I do think that like they talk about how these things can sometimes blend in with society. So you talked about Skinwalker Ranch, and they made an appearance in those headlines before. And if the people we saw recently, they said they saw like 8 to 10 foot tall creatures.
Right.
They may not be seeing the Greys, which are usually about 5 feet tall.
Oh, okay.
Think of the movie Paul. You ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
With Simon Pegg and Nick Frost?
I've also seen American Dad.
Roger. One of the greatest characters ever.
Roger he's a gray.
You would say so. Yeah. He's a bit of a gray area.
It's kind of... But it is funny that they chose that character.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, look at E.T. as well.
I mean, E.T. is just part of the Star Wars universe. That's all you got to talk about.
Heavily based on a gray, I bet.
I think E.T. was just a Jedi. We never saw his lightsaber.
Right.
But
it got stuck in his finger.
His finger. He just fucking had it in his finger. Like made a Schwartz be with you over here. But yeah, if you remember the movie Paul, if you guys have seen it, there's a whole idea that Seth Rogen plays this gray alien, and he was the Roswell crash back in the 60s or the 40s the 40s, I believe, and he's been kept at this base for years. And they basically were saying that, he's been kept by a special branch of the government and the military. Right. He's been he's been experimented on. He's helped with technology advances. He's helped push America in the direction it's supposed to be the most powerful. And they've also been subconsciously feeding or spoon feeding his image to the American people, to the world, so that if it ever came out that he was there, they wouldn't freak out.
Right.
And you look at these things, and it sounds like, so far-fetched and so fictional, but it's like,
wait a minute.
Where do they got these ideas? These were actual theories.
Exactly.
And yes, these grays, these crash. You listen to some of these testimonies from people about the crashes they witnessed. This guy right here talks about some of the biologics that were recovered. He's openly saying non-human.
Non-human. You know what this gives me hope? This gives me hope that the Men in Black actually exist. Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the Men in Black is a whole rabbit hole we can get into when it comes into conspiracy theories and secret government branches. That's just such a crazy
idea for a movie to just do randomly. Right?
Well, it wasn't because it wasn't. The idea of Men in Black, these secret government agents who show up, that's been around since the 40s.
Yeah. We just didn't know they've been dealing with aliens since the 30s.
Yes, that's how this guy's saying. David Grush is saying that there's been a active crash recovery program since the 30s.
That's insane.
We've always known about the Roswell incident and all the New Mexico stuff, and there was Area 51, and there's another site out there that I can't remember what it's called, but it was the one that Bob Lazar was a member of. Have you ever heard of Bob Lazar?
Yes, I'm blanking on it. Darn it, you said all the popular ones already.
Yeah, it's not like Site B, it's like Site R or something along those lines. Right. It's just, I'll have to Google what site he was at, but we've heard of these secret government bases and the Men in Black who kind of have been around them. And every time there was a UFO sighting or there was some kind of mass hysteria, people reported seeing these black government cars driving around and just two men dressed like Agent Smith from The Matrix, kind of going around. And that's when it comes with the Nordic Blondes, especially. They have been some of the people who have been linked to the Men in Black. Sometimes the Men in Black showing up on a doorstep that doesn't really seem human. He seems like he's imitating a human, but he's kind of very tall and fair. So the Men in Black idea has been around since the 30s and the 40s, because that was the big time of the ET buzz.
Right. Yep. That's no coincidence.
No, it's not a coincidence that those things have been kind of forced into society, because these were testimonies that have been coming around since the 1930s, since people were able to get on the radio and talk about it. People were printing newspapers and getting all out there. Like, they're talking about how in this previous hearing we listened to yesterday, that they asked him how much reporting do you think goes into this, and he was saying, I think that only 5% of the pilots that see these things report them.
Report them.
Yeah, 5%.
And then how many of the reports actually get investigated?
And we always used to hear for generations, we heard about UFO sightings and alien abduction stories and alien encounter stories, but it was all these people who, they didn't have cameras, they didn't have, microphones to record.
Yep.
And now we live in a world where 90% of the population, it seems like, has a high quality 4K video camera at their disposal at all times.
Right.
So now we're getting to see videos all the time, but we also live in a world where deep fakes and AI and technology, so it makes it even harder to cross-reference what's real and what's not.
It's easier just to cloud the internet with all kinds of misinformation to cover this up, which, in these hearings, that has been exposed as well.
Openly saying a campaign of disinformation.
Yes.
But they kept going back to saying only 5% are reported amongst these pilots. You have to think that these things have been seen for generations. Pilots have been talking amongst themselves saying, yeah, we see shit all the time up there. We don't know what it is. We tell our superiors and they say, that's cool. Get back to work.
Yeah.
And then that just goes into some file.
Because like one pilot said, he said even if he was driving an armed jet at the time, there's no way they could even shoot it. The way it moves and how quickly that it could accelerate and leave, if it wanted to attack us, there's nothing that we could do.
Yeah, and if we had tried to attack it, we couldn't have shot.
You're not going to hit it.
Yeah, it was moving too unpredictable, too
It's like
quickly.
Floyd Mayweather. You were not going to hit that thing.
Just floating like a butterfly. Muhammad Ali. If it wants to, it's going to sting like a bee.
It's going to sting the hell out of us. But apparently, they're just watching. And they're probably taking some cattle, like at Skinwalker Ranch every now and then.
Yeah, we've seen
They got to eat. They might as well grab a snack while they're here.
Or just seeing what the local fauna is like.
Yeah.
Seeing what this planet's fauna has. See what their DNA looks like. See what
I always wondered who tests the grass-fed beef. It's probably aliens. They're just dropping by to make sure that these organic farmers aren't ripping us off.
They report back to the FDA. Yeah. They just have a sweet little subcontractor deal with the FAA.
They just come and they skin a cow right quick. Eat it all, of course.
Listen, we can be
and then process it.
Out. No one will hear a thing. No one will believe it if they see it.
That's right.
And don't ask why the cow doesn't have an anus. That's our thing.
That's our thing.
But we will check the stomach for you.
We're doing this for free, remember? Don't ask questions.
Listen, that's our thing.
We could have just done this without telling you, and nobody.
We're gonna do this regardless. If you want the information, we'll give it to
you. We're just offering our information.
We're offering our leftovers to you.
Right. We already own Google, so. But.
Obviously, we already put that Zuckerberg in charge of the fake book, whatever it is.
Yeah. He's one of ours, obviously.
He's like Invader Zim.
Yeah, exactly.
I do feel like Mark Zuckerberg is the Invader Zim of aliens.
Yeah,
because he's so alien. He's so weird looking. He's so just non-humanoid. But he just seems like such an annoying prick.
Right.
That he would be the alien who was sent from his species to why don't you go see what you can do with this planet?
We got a special assignment for you, Zuck. Come here.
Come on, Zuck. Why don't you come on down to...
His real name is Zuxborg or something, obviously.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
But I just imagine he's the Invader Zim of that species. But yeah, these guys are talking. I can't remember. I'm trying to find all three of the men's names. We have David Grush. He was one of the guys who talked at the committee yesterday. He served for 14 years as an intelligence officer in the Air Force and the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Uh-huh. He has a long ass resume. I need to find it so I can actually go through all of his credentials. But he did give an interview about a month ago. David Grush. He gave an interview on News Nation. This kind of made headlines around the UFO community. It was one of the things that really sparked this committee hearing going forward.
Right.
So if you go back and watch this interview he gave a month ago, he openly says haunting things when you look at who this man is. This isn't a ufologist who's been just searching a while, or he's just going to.
He's not like that guy from that meme that's like, it's aliens.
Yeah, it's not that guy.
It's not that guy.
It's not some It's not some TV personality. It's not just some author who says, I've got all this research.
Right.
This man has a resume that all these journalists are like, he is legit. Like, this is
Right.
who this is. He has all the security clearance.
Yep.
He has access to everything, but apparently not everything. Because that's kind of why he's blowing the whistle. He was trying to get access to all this UAP information.
Right.
And he was turned away saying, there's programs that you don't have access to.
He's like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, we can't. There needs to be some transparency here. I have to get this public to where it's like, you guys
Right.
cannot keep this from the public anymore.
Nope.
You can't keep the fact that you may have contact with other species, with other planets, with other technologies that you're trying to get ahead in this geopolitical system.
Like we talked about earlier, like using the reverse engineering of the technology that you find. Now, what was some of the things that you said have already been invented? These guys, fiber optics.
Fiber optics was one thing that some of the people have talked about that was probably most definitely reverse engineered, along with microchips.
Okay,
probably
makes
some
sense.
things with radar, or something along the lines of I can't remember
Infrared.
what the glass is. It's the two-way glass, like the glass that you can see out of, but you can't see into. That's an idea, because one of the pilots talks about seeing these like almost spherical shaped clear objects that have a cube inside them that they're flying around in.
Right.
But that glass is like, can you see through it?
It's like a cloaking system almost.
Yes, almost like that. So you might be able to think of some, stealth technology that's been able to be reverse engineered.
Yes.
That was a big
oh my
thing
God.
with the
Have you
Philadelphia
seen the movie
experiment.
Nope? Jordan
Yes.
Peele's movie Nope? You know how well, it was not, I don't want to spoil the movie, but the alien, let's just call it that, was the alien craft or whatever was up in the cloud, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Because it was literally camouflaged behind this cloud, or portrayed whatever image was behind it or whatever.
Yeah, like the cloaking technology or stealth, like it was kind of mirroring those images.
Right, that's what it seemed to be doing, yeah.
So yeah, I think those are examples, like we said, stealth technology, radar jamming, or any kind of signals or infrared microchips. Those things might be examples of reverse engineering, things that we have accepted or we have received from these crashes, from the recoveries, or from possible contact and actual cooperation. That's another big thing that they have to, they're wanting to get the clarity on. It's like, do you guys just have crashes? Do you guys just have, dead pilots or remains of pilots? Or do you have Paul? Like, is there a fucking alien living in New Mexico? Are there, Nordic blondes walking amongst us? Like, is there, what all do you know that the public really should be made aware of?
It's too much.
It's too much.
But should they be made aware of it though? Because you have to understand, like, there's a lot of beliefs will be crumbled when absolute proof of this comes out, Andy.
Well, if your faith is strong enough
in the Bible,
if your faith is strong enough, it shall not be shaken.
it shall not be.
And you know what?
Right.
Good on you.
Good on you. Buckle down on that faith.
You know what? You just keep doing that. You just keep doing that over there.
Yep.
We will go join the intergalactic committee and see what kind of stuff they have. I feel like they have really great new shoes.
Judging by their ships, they got some pretty cool stuff. That's all I'm saying.
Tesla ain't got nothing on these things.
No.
On the Twerkdurger, they got nothing on that. Tesla, nothing on the Twerkdurger.
No, nothing.
Have you seen the new models? Crazy. Turn on a dime. Yeah, we look back at this, this whistleblower committee. There was also, we talked about David Grush. The panel also heard from Ryan Graves, a former Navy pilot who's spoken out about encountering UAPs on training missions. David Fravor, who maybe listeners may recognize, he was the former Navy pilot who was famous for the Tic Tac video. That was like during a flight off the coast of California in 2004.
Right, just a big Tic Tac shaped spacecraft.
Yeah, just a big white.
Moved wherever it wanted to.
Yeah, it just they were flying over the ocean, and he's given multiple interviews about this, about how they were just out there. It was 2 planes, 4 people in the planes, and they're out over the ocean. All of a sudden, they see whitewater caps, which shouldn't have been there because it was such a mild day. And all of a sudden, they see this ship, this object, just flying way faster than they can keep up with. They can barely track it, but their cameras are able to pick up a little bit of it.
Right.
Their radar is able to pick it up. They have all the comm, recordings back and forth.
They were actually able to track the flight pattern. Of this Tic Tac ship, and at the same time as the jets, and you can see the diagram online, the video. It's pretty interesting the way it shoots around the jet while the jet is moving forward at an extremely high speed.
Yeah, because jets don't have the capabilities to just stop 90-degree turn or just quickly whip around, change direction, change altitude without like angling or anything.
Right.
this thing is moving, as he describes, against what our understanding of physics is. It doesn't have any propulsion system. It doesn't have any heat coming off of it. It doesn't have any kind of thermal signature. And they ask him, "Do you think if you were armed, could you have shot it down?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, could not have locked on."
Anti-gravitational.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's kind of how they think these ships fly.
Yeah.
Is they can control. We don't even understand. Humanity doesn't even fully understand gravity, but these technologies seem to have not only understood it but mastered it. Have been able to use it as a tool.
Let's talk about the pieces of alien material when they were weighed with the Earth crystal.
That was I'm trying to remember that guy's name. I can try and look it up. He was a former Area 51 employee or doctor or something. He came out with a video shortly after his death, and he has so many just actual photographs and files and documents of things that he gives testimony to of saying they would be brought in with these items, and they're like, "What are these?
Right,
you figure it out." And it's they have like a crystal on a scale, and he's looking at the crystal, and there's 3 pieces of UFO material on the scale, and it says it's 100 grams. And then when he takes the UFO material off, it says it's 600 grams now. So kind of indicating that somehow these things reverse the gravity of whatever's around it.
And that, my friend, is how the pyramids were built.
That's a really good estimation.
Now that guy doesn't sound so crazy.
No, he doesn't. People, like we talked about just briefly, people like Bob Lazar who've been saying these kind of things for decades.
Yeah. He was associated with Area 51, by the way.
Yeah, and he was definitely associated with the idea of reverse engineering, of being brought in to look at this technology, to see where it came from, to figure out how to use it, how to adapt it to our uses.
Yeah.
And he's been kind of not only proven right on some of these things. That's one way to think about it, but just the notion that more people, even people who are more official than him, like people who have high security clearances, people who have decades of government work behind them, of military careers, they are coming out and saying that, there are people in this government who are not being honest. They are keeping things from you. They are not telling they're not telling Congress where this money is going.
Right.
And they are using the funds that you elected officials delegate to go to certain places. They are using those funds for other things. That's kind of along the lines of questioning that gets asked is, how does a operation like this get funded?
Right.
And he kind of does a layman's explanation of being like, misappropriation of funds. And the senator said, or the congressperson says, so you mean like in a budget where something says money is going here, and then we give them that money, then that money goes somewhere else.
Right.
So it's kind of just the idea of people have talked about the Pentagon. Where does all their money go? And they audit the Pentagon every year, and they fail. And then they're like, where did this $1 billion go? And
Pentagon's like, don't worry about it.
Where are 40% of your assets?
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. You want to be safe and not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just the whole Nick Fury mentality of everything. It's being like, I can keep you safe. Don't ask questions.
Right.
That's how the Pentagon treats Congress. It seems like they
Might makes right.
To an extent, if they have the most technology, if you have the most advanced technology in the fucking solar system,
right?
Not only on the planet, like there's obviously another planet in our solar system that's like that these people are coming from. So you are the top dog of the fucking galaxy. It seems like. How are you going to handle that? Do you try and bring this as a societal, as a planetary thing?
Yeah.
Do you want to be a planetary strength, or do you still want to do this fucking loyalty to a flag and think that that's how you're going to make the world part of this intergalactic society?
Right. Well, I mean, if I'll tell you, put it to you this way, Andy, if this type of thing doesn't bring Earthlings together, then there's no hope for us, man. There's no hope for us. We're just going to get dominated.
I don't know. I mean, Twitter just
Because
became X. That might be a really good thing to unite against. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, man, I don't know if it'll bring people together or not. But the money going towards this, that's something that people have to know about.
Yeah, the fact that it's taxpayer money.
We need to know, especially if, like you say, you're reverse engineering this technology. You're making new things like microfiber or fiber optics. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like fiber optics.
Fiber optics, and then you're saying, oh, now we can bring them cable at high speeds. Let's charge them more.
That's
You know what
that's
I'm
charged
saying?
them more
Like,
for this new.
You're charging the public, the people who are funding what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that in that area, I can definitely see blowing the whistle on that type of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's people need to be aware of that.
And
Space
there's
Force is real.
And there's other questions that come out in this hearing where one senator directly asks, do you know of people who were injured or hurt by this UAP technology, by reverse engineering? And he says yes. And he's like, by the technology or by the U.S. government? And he's both. He's like, do you know if anybody was murdered? And he's like, I am hesitant to answer that question. I'm very, we have to be careful about answering that question.
Yeah.
So he's openly saying that like people, are you putting American lives at risk testing this technology? We've always heard the conspiracies and the proof of like the government just secretly testing blankets, like things of population by drugging a population's water source or going to a clinic and dosing people with this or seeing different kinds of experiments they've done. Do you think that now they are using American citizens to test this technology? Do we see people who just disappear? Like, we talk about Russia. People just disappear all the time.
Yeah.
Are there American citizens who have been...
People just disappear everywhere all the time, Andy. Like,
and are there... we've talked about...
reality.
Are there American citizens who've now disappeared because of testing of UFO technology or of some sort of trade with UFO or with intergalactic species? It's
Or some intergalactic species, some ship came here, took someone, and they're gone. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. And that came up as well. They were like, well, is there anything in your mind that the world or the U.S. could do to defend ourselves against, this type of aircraft? And the guy's like, no, not at this time. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah. Do you think this is a threat to our national security? And they all kind of look at each other for a second. And the Navy pilot says, I'll say it. Yeah. He's like, the ability for these things to come out of orbit, of space, drop down to 20,000 feet, to drop down to right above the ground without a sound, without a radar blip, without any kind of indication that they're there.
Right.
Do things in almost light speed of technologies and then just disappear back into space. If any kind of power if any one of these countries on the planet gets that technology, they are going to now be the dominant power on the planet. No questions asked. So the idea of this things needs to be transparent. Our allies need to work together. Our enemies need to work. We all need to come together as a planet.
Yeah.
To figure out how we can.
That's possible, knowing the typical personality of a leader of a country.
I genuinely don't, and it comes into that's one of the reasons I was kind of diving into this hole last night, as you would normally do when information like this comes to you, as most people would do. Mm-hmm. I ate a bunch of mushrooms and I went into a TikTok hole last night.
There you go.
And I learned a lot about aliens, and I freaked the fuck out of myself.
A lot about something.
Don't take the dog out at midnight after that. Every star is a sign.
Everybody's trying to abduct me.
Don't look at the night sky after that. But so yeah, it's like you take a look at all these things and some of the moral quandaries that come up. It's like the transparency. It's like, well, if you guys, if this information would have come out in the 30s to say we are not alone. We're not the only intelligent species. There is other species that are more advanced than us, that are out there. They can come to us. We can't get to them, and they can do what the fuck they want to us.
Yeah.
And if that information had been made public back in the 30s, it's a big hypothetical situation. But it's like, what if
it would be nice to have already have known that for this long?
But think of the things
last 90 years.
Think of things that might have been avoided. Think of the terrorist attacks or the religious wars or the governmental overthrows, the different kinds of genocides that could have been prevented.
Like the human conflict seems so minuscule.
But the what if that information had been made public at a time before the internet and the general public and the technology of TikTok, where disinformation is so quickly spread.
Yeah.
If that had been made public by the government, put out on, by Walter Cronkite, put out by these respected journalists seeing, Harry Truman coming out and saying, we are not alone. There are other species out there.
Yeah.
What if the world's populations would have come together? Think of where we could have been
That's
instead
what
of
I'm
the
saying.
arms
the
race
progress
we
could
had.
have made. Yeah.
Think of how the Cold War wouldn't have been an arms race, but would have been like a relay. It would have been what did we develop, then you guys develop, then we build off that, and you build off this, and figuring out how to get in contact and develop intergalactic trade. We could have. The ideas of possibilities are endless to be made if this information had been made relatively public and officially backed by world governments.
Maybe the aliens are just experimenting with Earth and giving us just a little bit at a time.
Yeah, and they could be.
An eye on us,
there's all the theories to think about that. To be like, are they the ones pulling the strings, saying you don't get to talk about this, or they're telling our leaders what to say, what not to say? There's all kinds of conspiracies, but at the same time, it's what could have been and what could be now if we actually all could come together. Because I'm one to believe.
I hear you there, John Lennon.
I'm one to believe that these species, that these other intergalactic species, they are coming to us as representatives of a planet, of an entire race, of an entire species, because they have evolved past the petty squabbles over territories.
Maybe not.
You might think, but it's like when these people talk about the technology that they have, that's so that's millennia ahead of us. That's 50,000 years ahead of us.
Right.
And to be like, there's no way you could have developed that if you're all competing against each other.
Well, you can be a genius and still be petty.
Yes, you obviously can.
And there's always going to be competition.
Yes, but if the idea that these technological breakthroughs, like the speed at which they would be accomplished, the more people worked, like the more cooperation that was worked, the more sharing of information.
I see what you're saying. Most likely, they are more advanced than that.
Yeah, the idea, this is a bad example, but with Oppenheimer being out in theaters now, and the idea of the nuclear bomb being developed during World War II. Mm-hmm. The Nazi powers are working on a nuclear bomb. The Allied powers are working on a nuclear bomb. The speed at which we developed it, because of stealing their knowledge and their scientists and building at this speed, but all to build a bomb to then be the most world power, just to stop the war. Mm-hmm. But if in the other way around, it's like, what if those two world powers were not competing to develop nuclear technology as a weapon? What if these scientists had been all working together to develop nuclear technology as a fuel source, as an intergalactic fuel source, as something to do these things that where we could have been as a global society now. Right. It's just these things need to be made public, and people need to be given the opportunity to make that choice. Because yes, we have thousands, hundreds, I don't know how many religions on this world or on this planet that are just dividing people up. We have so many countries and loyalties and alliances and borders and stuff. It's like, what if those things could all be meshed together to be a planet-wide resource?
That would just be magic.
It would be, but that's one of the things that why these people can be so frustrated. Like, people in power have known this. They have retrieved these crafts. They have contact with these. They have been reverse engineering it for their own behalf, and not telling us that we're paying for it. Not telling us that we may, people, they may know that people have been abducted and been like, a person's just missing. When realize, you actually know that, we had a craft come by, probably took them that time.
But again, what does that do other than just cause absolute chaos and panic among the people? Because there's nothing we can do about it. If crafts were going around and taking one person every hour, there's nothing we could do about it. It would be so random. It'd be so fast.
And the only thing we could do...
We can't even track it. There's no heat.
The only thing we could do would be to come together as a planet to figure out how to defend ourselves.
You stay your ass indoors.
We go underground. We become mole
shelters.
people.
You have to build canopies everywhere you want to walk in New York.
We're just gonna dig. We're gonna dig into the ground. We're gonna become a society of mole people, of tunnel dwellers.
We'll go into the vault, man.
We're going to the vault.
We'll start Fallout.
We're just gonna go back into the tunnels. We're gonna find our roots. Okay, go back in there. We're just gonna go blind. We're gonna all just go by sound and feel.
A bunch of moles.
We're not even gonna look at the sky anymore. What sky?
What sky? Who needs it?
Who needs a sky anymore?
Oh my God, I'd be so depressed.
There's there's terrifying things up there. We went underground. All the aliens just think we just died off. It's like, I guess they left.
Right?
That's weird.
Oh well, we'll just take their cattle.
I guess we're just taking all this cattle and then
all these natural resources they left.
You guys want a Tesla? I guess we could. I know we saw that one flying around in space, but like, here's like a newer model.
Here's a newer one. I think that was the first gen.
I think that one didn't have autopilot.
Right? Who wants
Just
that?
banking into asteroids and shit.
Battery was still charged on it, though. It was crazy.
Life on them bitches is great.
Right. Well, all right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this show. Hope you enjoyed this little update. This was just too important not to talk about.
It
honestly.
was. This kind of came out of left field for a lot of people. It was just, it blew the doors off of a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I saw like Tom DeLonge from Blink-182 opening their concert
Lord.
last night saying, I was right about aliens. Fuck you. And just like, yes, of course. Like so many people are feeling so validated. They're feeling finally heard. And they're being like, so we can talk about this. These guys are trying to downplay the stigma of being like, did you see something? Report it. Like there might be other reports in the area. We may be able to track these movements. We may be able to see where they're more localized and see why they might be there.
Yep.
So yeah, guys, it was way too big to just avoid today. And it kind of, like I said, I went down a weird rabbit hole last night.
No, I'm glad you brought it to my attention. I haven't been on this. I really haven't been on social media or watching the news at all lately. So yeah, this is crazy. I mean, I already believe in aliens. This is not really like shocking to me, but I love that this is coming out in this manner by people who, are respectable people in our community, regardless of where you're from. You know, I mean, if you're a government employee or whatever, a naysayer or whatever, a logical thinker, here you go. There's something to think about. That's for sure.
Yeah, this was not on some InfoWars website. This was not on Joe Rogan's podcast. This was not something of one of those things. This was a congressional hearing with real senators, with real Congress people who have real power who can investigate these things. So it adds so much more credibility to all these claims, to all these theories, to all these different things that have been going on and coming out since the 1930s.
Yeah, but then you have to think, right, at the same time, there's been a campaign of misinformation since this begun. So, like, is this part of it? Oh, here we go. All this was for nothing.
All this was for naught.
Guys.
But the pyramids!
The pyramids, people!
They're too perfect!
That just makes so much sense, right? And then you've always heard, they're built by aliens. Maybe they weren't built by aliens. Maybe they were built by alien technology.
Maybe the aliens directed. They were supervising. They were the foremen. Come on. They were the ones with the plans.
Or they were like, hey, those blocks are kind of heavy, right? Yeah, paint them with this.
Yeah, why don't you just...
Right? Some of the aircraft material, boom, now they're like a third of the weight. Throw two on your shoulder, bro. Go on up there.
Just fucking... Don't you even lift, bro?
Right? Come on.
They were the real inventors of protein powder.
Exactly. Well, all right, guys. Like we said, we'll be back September 6th with regular episodes of True Crime Guys podcast. But there may be a few surprise episodes popping in there between now and then, though. So keep your ears to the floor,
to the buds, to the speakers. I don't know. Keep your face to the electronics.
Just pay attention to notifications.
Fuck those radio waves. Just keep your head glued to whatever you hear us with.
Yeah, Bluetooth waves are going to be the next thing they take over. Right, they're definitely cancerous. We know that for sure.
Did you use a lot of Bluetooth headphones in the late 2000s?
That's going to be the lead paint of our generation.
Yeah, exactly. It's me, the mesothelioma.
All right, guys. I think we've creeped you out and made you paranoid enough this episode. We'll see you next week with the new headlines and shenanigans, or possibly a regular episode. We'll figure it out between now and then. All right, guys. Until then, just keep on creeping.
All right, guys. Bye. If you've enjoyed this episode, please feel free to check out all the other shows on our TCG network, as well as subscribing to our YouTube channel. Starting every Monday with new episodes of Strange and Unexplained, followed every other Tuesday by our audio drama podcast, Sandu Stories. Then, of course, new episodes of True Crime Guys every Wednesday. And if that's not enough, head on over to our Patreon, where you can have access to hundreds of hours of exclusive content, including older episodes, strange shorts, the latest edition of Sandu Stories, and, of course, higher thoughts. But until next time, guys, keep creeping.
You hush your mouth, boy.